Welcome to PTG TV. This is your host, Antonio Hicks. And we talk about all things news today. Last week, we were talking about the issues and fight that was taking place over in Israel and between Palestine. I'm tired of having a debate with people about the history behind that because nobody typically, what agitates me the most, and I'm going to get on what today's topic is about because it is in line with politics and technology, is that people don't use the technology that we have just to fact find some things they want to sit here and argue with people online about. Because I honestly believe a lot of people that come online, they've been trolling the hell out of folks. Like, to me, it's become to the point where it's hilarious. Because they're getting in people's comment section when people say, free Palestine, or you're Hamas supporters, or you don't really know the facts behind it. And everybody started going into this whole historical debate. And I'm like, man, why are you wasting your time? Because I was like, people are not really going to look it up. And so I got in one topic yesterday because I saw this young kid, and he's in college. So to me, he's a young kid. I got a kid in college. And so he was dropping like all of this historical data. And this guy was like, well, you still haven't answered, how are you going to free up, get rid of Hamas, and how are you going to free up the Palestinians? Because what is the Israelis supposed to do? And one guy went up, he was like, dude, just Google it. What are you even talking about? And the guy said, but you're still not answering the question. It's like, what do you expect them to do when you need to understand the historical data behind it? And it was like, we just quoted you all the historical data behind what took place over there. And so I jumped in the conversation because I was laughing because I'm like, this kid was going off. I said, hey, man, homie really out here trolling y'all. Because I was like, there is no way possible somebody can tell a man to go Google something and they still come back with the same argument because even if they had Googled it, they could have said, well, I just Googled it. And, Google said X, Y, and Z. But they still come back. They will respond back immediately with the same argument, asking about historical stuff about between Israel and Palestine. And it's like, at this point in time now, it's like, I'm not debating stuff like to that degree. I'm just looking at the most horrific fact of things that's been taking place over there and the innocent lives being killed. Because to me, that's what, like I talked about in my last thing, that's like what's the most important thing when it comes to me is like so many innocent lives being taken away that don't have a chance. And then our government, the U.S. government, and then, of course, I don't give a good goddamn about Israeli government, but our government is saying, oh, well, that's just, the rules of engagement, it's just collateral damage. And I'm like, boy, come on now. I'm like 11,000 people. I'm like, you can't tell me how that's okay to consider 11,000 or I'm going to give it low as 10,000. Let's say you took out 1,000 of Hamas fighters, but 10,000 innocent lives as collateral damage. I mean, those are people's families that's been decimated, generations of people just gone and y'all just bombing. But anyway, that's not what today's topic about. I would just want to get on that real briefly because it does coincide with one of the topics I want to talk about, but one of the first ones that really got me, that really punched me in my face when I saw it, because I had never heard of it before, and somehow, some way, it popped into my feed about 45s, because I don't like saying his name on my show. He's part of He Who Has No Name. I don't say this man's name on my show. I'm just gonna call him by his number because he was the president, and that's just it. Because he don't get no more respect from me. But 45 has this plan, and it's called Project 25. And I'm like, what the hell is Project 20? What is Project 25? Because I'm like, what is this being pushed out online? So, if y'all don't know what Project 25 is, so they always paint, the Republican Party always paint Democrats, especially progressive Democrats, as wanting us to have a communist country.
We all know that AOC and this crowd are a bunch of communists. They hate Israel. They hate our own country.
Gen Z, where my two kids belong to, the Gen Z, those are young adults, have a favorable view of communism.
The progressive socialist left, the identity politics left, make no mistake, they don't think you're people with bad ideas, you MAGA crowd and conservative people out there. They think you're bad people with ideas.
Now, this project, if this plan doesn't get as close to being a communist country, I don't know what does. Now, not all of it is, but still at the end of the day, a lot of it does line up with a communist. It lined up with the very country that Trump always talking about, from China. He always talking about. So what Project 25 is, it's a plan by Donald Trump and his allies, the Heritage Foundation, to reshape the executive branch of the federal government in the event that he's elected to a second term in 2024. The plan is based on the idea that the federal bureaucracy is too powerful and that it needs to be brought under control. So, he said, okay, well, what are some of the specific things that, Trump and his allies, and I said I won't say anything, but Sarah said, Trump and his allies are proposing to do. So one of the key goals of Project 25 is to replace tens of thousands, over 10,000 of federal employees with Trump loyalists. And that's would be done by reclassifying these employees as at-will workers, which will make them easier to fire. So my man wants to get rid of over 10,000 federal workers and replace them with people that's been loyal to him. That the Heritage Foundation is actively right now screening people and putting together an army of people to actually bring into the whole federal government upon if 45 is elected again. Now, what I don't like with that, and I'm going to get back onto this, is that the Democratic Party is trying to use that as a means to back people into a corner because Biden's his polling numbers have been going down. And that's because what I just talked about earlier in the show. It's about him and his support of, the Zionist government overseas, Israel. Now, I'm not one, because this is what happened last election cycle. Y'all heard me say when I was talking about Biden, I'm not a fan of Biden in the first place. I mean, I was to a degree when he was working under Vice President for President Obama, and some of the stuff that he was saying when he was snapping Republicans was funny to me because I called him get him told Biden. But still, at the end of the day, what this man did when it came to black families with his 1994 crime bill, and it was supported by other Democrats too, it pisses me off because you destroy so many households relentlessly, just brutally locking up black people for minor offenses or no offenses at all because, it's an accusation. And without giving them a chance in court or nothing. And then you want to come back to the same community now, the same community, and ask for our assistance to help get you elected in office. And you know what? We did just that. We did just that. Help this man get back in. And that's why I'm like, I don't support him. I don't care. You can tell me how bad. And this bill, this guy's trying to push out his plan is horrible. But still, at the end of the day, you're not backing me to no corner. And that's why I say that you're not backing me to a corner to force my hand in voting for this fool again. And he's old as hell on top of it too. And and I'm not to say that he hadn't really did anything for this economy now. But my thing, like I was talking about earlier in the show, is like I care about the sanctity and safety of people and civilians, especially people from my own country. Now, I'm all for helping out other institutions, other countries to help them out with aid and packages and things of that nature. But when you're freely giving billions of dollars away to a country that don't even need it, and you won't do anything for your own people, I can't give you my support on that. Like I cannot give you that. I can't back you up on that. I just can't. I don't care what you did prior to that. You're giving away this piece most recently, and I said in the last podcast, he gave away $14.3 billion to Israel. I'm like, no, we can't get healthcare because they're always trying to figure out where it's going to come from, like who's going to pay for it. We can't get student loan debt forgiven because who's going to pay for it? Where is it coming from? We can't get kids to have get fed before school because they're asking, who's going to pay for it? We can't take care of our homelessness because we're asking who's going to take for it. We can't have income equality. We can't force that upon corporations to make sure people are getting paid livable wages while they're collecting billions and billions upon billions of dollars, getting all the tax breaks that we ourselves as civilians can't even get. But they're getting all the tax breaks, and we're paying more taxes than they are, and we can't even get paid, and they can't force them to pay us livable wage income. We can't get access to better food. We can't get access to clean energy. We can't get access to affordable housing. We can't get access to good infrastructure. We can't get access to funds allocated to low-income communities because they allocate those tax dollars to the higher end of those districts or those counties or those little small cities. We can't get access to proper health care to make sure that our women give birth safely. We can't put back abortion rights. Like all of these things I'm listing off that he had access to do in his first 2 years because we controlled all branches of government. And now you want to come back and say, hey, man, I did some good stuff for y'all. Can you get my vote again? Nah. But then some of the people in the party, they want to use a scare tactic to say, Well, now, not especially now that I know about this Project 25, which nobody's even talking about Project 2025. Now that you know this, that's all the more reason why you should support another Biden run, because he is the only one that can fit. But I'm like, you won't put anybody else up. And that's the issue I have with the party too, is like, you don't put anybody else up for people to have an opportunity to check and see if that's what they want to roll with. Now, you got Cornel West running, you got Jink running from the Young Turks. Who else is running? Robert Kennedy Jr., he's running. And who else is running? There's a couple more people running. I don't know who I'm gonna look at, because I mean I could look at Cornel West, because I do stand with some of the stuff that Cornel West he talks about, and I think he's running as an independent. And I know at the end of the day, people are gonna say, "Oh, well, you're taking votes away, and you pretty much electing." I don't care, man. At this point in time, because to me, both parties are just as equally liable for all the crap that's been taking place across this economy and across this world. Because, and I say that to say because they make so many, and I should know this because I go out and canvas. They make so many promises about things they're going to do and how they're going to do it to benefit the safety and help take care of the lives of the people here in this country. And nothing ever comes through. Some things do, but nothing really generally ever comes through. And I had a debate with this guy at this college I work with, and he was saying that, he asked me why. He wanted to have a civilized conversation, like, why don't we like 45? And I was like, dude, it shouldn't even be about why I don't like 45. I said, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself a question. Of any of these politicians, I don't care if it's local, I don't care if it's federal, what are they doing to benefit your life personally? And how are they helping you to get further ahead? I'm like, if it's not adding up to better jobs in your community, if it's not putting more money into your pocket, if it's not giving you access, if you want to go EV to get access to EVs, electric vehicles, because they're clearly outside of the average American's price range. I mean, it's $45,000, $60,000 plus. And then they added on, they gave you back the $7,500 tax credit, but you got to wait until the following year. They're doing it this now where you can get it up front for next year. But still, it's $7,500 off of a $65,000, $70,000 car. I mean, that's really not doing much of anything. I mean, your car note payment is still going to be high as hell, and you can have positive A1 credit. Your car note still is going to be high as hell. So I'm like, they don't even give us access to be able to afford one of those easily. And it's like, if they're not doing anything to change any aspect of your life, why are you supporting them in the first place? I mean, I can go all day long about, and I told him I could go all day long about how, Trump is a racist, and I can give you data upon us about why Trump is a racist. I can say that, okay, well, none of the policies that he pushed out really helped out any Americans, because he didn't push out any policy that really helped out any Americans. He wanted to tell me, too, that he had the highest black unemployment rate than any other president. And I'm like, come on now, you going to tell this, and this is a white guy, so I'm like, you going to tell this to a black man? Like, and it's like, he didn't pull a race card. I'm just like, how are you going to tell me? That's like me telling you that, they've done, and I can't make the argument, but I just made a blanket statement about how somebody has done something to benefit white people to a degree, specifically white people to a degree. And I'm like, that would be wrong in itself, because I would never even do that. But I'm like, in the way that the unemployment rate was low under his president, it was because of what President Obama did during a recession when he was in office with his American Restoration Plan. And I'm like, that finally took fruit. And the seeds that he planted then, it helped to blossom for corporations increasing their growth and getting billions upon billions of dollars of returns from like sales and stuff and from growth. And it helped to so-called boosting the hiring rate for, black Americans. But at the end of the day, I'm like, still is not high enough. But yeah, that's part of it. So then to go back to this Project 2025, it's like they paint themselves so hard, because I'm like, come here. I mean, come a little closer. Like, come a little closer. How are you calling us communist when the very things that's put into this policy and this bill are communist things? So the consequences behind what could happen with Project 2025, if this man was elected and he was put into place, and I'm not using it as a scare tactic to push anybody to go for support Biden. It should be a scare tactic for you to get your ass up and go and vote, though. So one is that it could lead to Politicization of the civil services. This could make it more difficult for government agencies to do their jobs effectively. Another concern is that it could lead to a loss of institutional knowledge because many of the federal workers, they have decades of experience. So you about to lay off 10,000 people that's actually been working in the government for multiple administrations, and you about to lay them off to replace them with noobs. I'm like, come on now. What is that going to? I'm like, for real, that's what we're going to do. So that's what your plan is, to lay these people off and bring in some new people. And so now you got to reset everything from scratch. If you lay them off, who going to teach these people? Because there is no way possible you want to tell these employees that before they get laid off, they got to lay off these new folks coming in here, because you can't do it before he takes office. So what, he's going to threaten them that, I'm going to give y'all 2 weeks, but in this 2 weeks notice or this month notice, I want y'all to transition all of your knowledge over to these new people. Who in their right mind would do that? So, I mean, the whole thing about it is it could damage the entire federal government. It's going to lead to, again, a loss of knowledge. It's going to put everything on hold for an extended amount of time. And it's like, why even go through with that? So, yeah, so probably 2025 is terrible. And it goes to show you the hypocrisy of who they are as an institution, the Republican Party in itself. And I already said, both parties are terrible, but they are the crookedest of crooked people. Because I'm like, first of all, they've been losing campaigns and elections because they pushed out, they got rid of Roe versus Wade, and they want to get rid of abortion rights. And I'm like, hey man, rape, and everything else that take place from unwanted pregnancies happens to everybody. It don't matter what party you were in. It doesn't matter who you support. It don't matter what religion you support. All those things can happen to anybody. And to tell people that when it happens to them, that you're going to force them to actually carry a baby to term that they did not want, nah, they don't sit well with nobody. And it showed in numbers. They start losing elections across the polls. And so now all of a sudden they wanted to rechange their structure up or their messaging up on how they felt about abortion. But just like Tim Scott, which this fool just dropped out, saying that during the last debate that, Democrats or the far left, they believe in supporting abortion all the way up to full term. And I was like, bro, come on now. I mean, come on now. Let's keep it a buck. Nobody in their right mind supports aborting a child all the way up to the last trimester. It's like nobody supports it because you're blatantly killing a life form at that moment in time. And it's like, who even wants to even have that debate with this fool? So, yeah, it always comes down to policy. Everything always comes down to policy and the people that support that policy. And it's just like with President Biden and him coming out, and this man, he just pushed an executive order to where he wants to ensure that AI is developed and used in a responsible way, in an ethical way.
Is calling this the strongest action that any government has taken on artificial intelligence safety and security. Today, the president signing an executive order that would require developers working on the most powerful AI models to share their safety test results with the government before releasing their products to the public. It also includes developing standards for ethically using AI and for detecting AI-generated content and labeling it as such.
The order going to call for increased transparency and accountability in the AI industry, and it will also call for the development of new regulation to protect privacy and prevent discrimination. Now, what are some of the specific provisions of the executive order? The executive order will require companies that develop AI to make their algorithms publicly available, which half of them generally are. It will also require companies to conduct regular audits of the AI system to ensure that they are not biased or discriminatory. Now, here's my issue with that. That's been happening for a long time now. Like, that's not anything new. Like, AI has been discriminating against black people. And I'm specifically saying black people, and I'm going to keep pulling it back to black people because, I mean, people keep coming at us, even machines coming. But it's not the machines that's the issue. It's the people that are programming the AI because I'm a technology person. The technology is not the problem. It's the people behind the technology that's the problem. Because they had to hire in some minority developers to help, and I know one specifically that works at Amazon, to help them work with facial recognition software to identify the difference between particular black people, because they was using facial recognition software to track down probably criminals, but it was never distinguishing between the difference of black people. So they was indiscriminately locking up black people or arresting black people because they thought they had committed a crime because they had seen them out somewhere from some facial recognition software, and only to find out that this person that they didn't locked up was an innocent person. And the software had it wrong. And so my beef with that is you trying to govern AI now, and you're concerned about the jobs being taken away from AI. But I'm like, but how right is that? Because why would you want to? And I'm for capitalism to a degree. Like, I really am for capitalism. I will never sit here, and as progressive as I am, I will never sit here and say that I don't believe in a free open market. I don't think people should sell stuff to it. Even if you make $1 billion, I think even if you get to the idea of $1 billion in your company, that as long as you're taking care of your employees, I'm all for it. And I say that to say is that you're using your executive orders to make people submit their code over to the federal government. And it's like, why would I want to do that? Like, why would I want to give you my code for you to, especially if it's some proprietary stuff, for you to use it and then you copy it yourself and use it in the federal government? And I won't know that you've copied it because you're going to just roll it out within the federal government. I don't know what's taking place in the federal government. And then for me to submit it for approval. But you don't do that when it comes to corporations and how they use their money to strip away jobs from small communities, and or they don't properly pay their employees, like Walmart, like the Waltons. There's one of the recipients of SNAP because they don't pay their employees enough. So their employees have to go get the subsidized income, and they turn around and use it back into Walmart because they get an employee discount. And so Walmart is getting SNAP dollars coming right back into them. So it's like, you don't pay them enough to work there. So you force them to go on government assistance, but because they work there and you literally have everything in there that they can have, and you give them an employee discount, they turn around and spend it right back into the store. It's like, you aren't governing that, but you want to govern and waste your time on some AI. And I don't think AI is about to become sentient and it's about to take over the world. And it could be, but I don't believe that right now. I don't think we're that far ahead, because you got to get to another form of, I forget the next form of generative AI, but it's going to quantum computing and making the AI become aware of who it actually is. I saw that with Project Lambda, but Project Lambda is still closed in to Google's network. They haven't opened it up to the free and open web, like some applications, like they're using, like Google Bard is. And it's like, I get the idea of you don't want to discriminate, which you shouldn't. But also to say that you want to protect jobs. I'm like, what about all the other jobs that have gone away because of innovation in technology? I mean, like telephone workers. I'm like, they've lost thousands of jobs to advancements in technology. I mean, especially in the clean energy space, when we're going from coal and doing a lot of oil drilling, I mean, we're working on clean energy now. People have lost jobs in that. So I'm like, so we lose jobs across the board as industry is innovated and new technology comes out. And you're worried about AI. This is what I really respected about President Obama. And I did talk to this guy about that too, because I'm like, he pushed for, education to be open back up again. He pushed for people to be able to have access to student loans to, get some new skill sets, because he saw where it was going with the aspect of advancements in technology. And I'm like, why not do that again? Like, why, which means forgive student loan debt. Why not make it available to where everybody has access to get new skills, as opposed to trying to govern who codes and develops AI and have them submit their stuff in. And to me, that's the easy way. Like, you want to make people send their stuff in, as opposed to making sure that people have access to get the things that they need to help them out in this newly changing and evolving economy. And I don't get that I don't understand that, which I don't understand it. Like, there is other words I can add to that. I don't understand that. Because these politicians worry so much about securing their pockets. They don't worry enough about the citizens. And they'll tell you all day long that they do. But you're going to add that policy in, but you're not adding the policy in to make sure that these corporations are paying their fair share of tax dollars. You're not doing that, which would actually help go towards our deficit, but they're not doing that at all. And so you want to govern something AI's been around since the 70s and 80s. Like we've always had some form of AI. And that's what I try to get people to understand all the time. Like AI is not new. And I've talked about it here on the show. It's not anything that's brand spanking new. I'm like, we've had AI for a long time. It's machine learning. And now we've gotten to generative AI. But I mean, we've had it for a long. I mean, what do you think Siri's on your phone? What do you think Alexa is? What do you think when you say the hey thing on there and it comes up, that's AI. I mean, even Windows had it for a long, it was trash, but Windows had it on their operating system for a very long time. I mean, it wasn't as good as everybody else's, but they had it. We've had it. So you're trying to govern it now because it's coming to new hot and sexy. But I'm like, I think there's more important things when it comes to corporations that you should be focusing on and not on people's, their software applications and the things that they come up with. Now, and I say that because if you put your blood, sweat, and tears into coding this stuff out, because this takes millions and millions of lines of codes to create this stuff, and you want them to submit it in to the federal government to have them review, but you won't govern everything else. It's like, come on now, bro. Come on. No, that in itself is just wrong. So yeah, that's it on this episode. I want to touch on those two things because it's, to me, and I like innovation. I love technology, and I understand especially when it comes to AI, like certain jobs are going to be taken away, and you got to know how to transition yourself. And I mean, I get change is a hard thing to do because I myself I got to go through a change, but you have to reimagine like what you want to do. And that's, I mean, I was at a conference, but even before I ended the show, like I was at a tech conference and it was a panel discussion. I think I talked about this in one of my other episodes. And they were talking about how to get the youth to get into learning AI and learning all the different ways of AI and stuff, and how to make sure that they get their skill sets up to know how to do like prompt engineering or how to actually work and communicate with AI or use it as a tool. But I was like, the power is in the youth. I'm like, the youth have all the time in the world to learn different things. I was like, our concern should be about our middle-aged Americans and people on up, especially in the minority community where we don't have access to a lot of stuff to that other people have access to. Because my concern is like, we're worried about this, but people don't have access to high-speed internet. And you need access to high-speed internet. You literally need access to high-speed internet. I don't care if it's you running a business out in a rural area. You need that for transactions with your company. I don't care if it's you're a student. You especially need it as a student. But even in your house, like just say you want to stay informed on news and stuff, you don't have cable because you don't want to have cable. Well, you do, but I just say this to say everybody needs access to high speed internet, and I debated it too because I'm like, we're so concerned about AI stuff or new technology coming out. I'm like, we haven't even covered the basic stuff. We haven't made sure that there's a computer in every single household, a good computer in every single household. Chromebooks are not good computers. A good computer in every single household. Yes, I care about that. I care about investing those things back into people. And I know this can be expensive. And what defines a good computer? I think a good computer is something that can last for a good 10 years, that has a minimum 16 gigs of RAM in it, at best 32, but 16 gigs of RAMs in it. And it has a good GPU, so kids can use that GPU. It's not just for gaming. People always think, oh, it's just for gaming. It's not just for gaming. It's for advanced things like using coding. You can use it for AI, for all forms of web development or hard, intensive applications that people are developing. And those things need to be pushed out into our rural areas, and we need to make sure that everybody has access to those devices. We need to make sure everybody have access, like I said, to high-speed internet so people can utilize or get online and learn about new technology. How can you take a class? Because like certain places don't have access to like community colleges, and they have to drive miles upon miles upon miles just to get to a school. Well, if you gave them access to high-speed internet, they can take all those things virtually and online. It won't without any lag or any delay. So you're governing things, and you haven't even covered the basic stuff yet. And that's what kills me when it comes to thinking about politicians and how I ran for office and how I understand that people actively just do not care. They genuinely just don't. They say they do, but they do not care. The basic stuff they should automatically have. I don't understand why we're not burying cables anymore, electrical cables, fiber optics when it comes to rural areas. We go out into a place, and it's out in is it Greenwood, Georgia? I think it's Greenwood, Georgia. And driving out there, it's nothing but power lines for days above ground. And I say, now, what's the importance behind that? You could have a strong storm come through and break one of those power lines, and now you have all these people without power. You can have somebody run into, which people do, run into a pole, take it down. You can have junction box. They burst from shorts or from storms that take place. If the cables were buried, you wouldn't have that many issues. And I'm like, why are we still putting stuff above ground, or why have we not buried the ones that's already pre-existing? So those are the things that really get me when it comes to policy and it comes to the new development of technology within this country. And especially when you start thinking about like potential jobs taking place, it's like, just because it's the shiny object, that's what they try to focus on. But I'm like, you got to get to the root behind everything. And I think AI is a great tool to have. I think everybody should learn about prompt engineering. I think people should be using AI with their business, because to me, it's no different than when you Google stuff. We haven't got to everybody having a personal Jarvis yet. We haven't gotten there yet. So I don't understand what this fear is, because at least you can work with a piece of software that can actually help you out on your day-to-day stuff, help your kids out on their homework, help you out on writing a small business plan. It can help you get your brain going when if you're trying to write a novel. It can help you out on business development, on growth, on marketing, starting a brand. I mean, it's so many things that it can do. Like, I can go on for days about how it can be used as a tool to help you out, because that's exactly what it is. It's a tool. It's a hammer to be used to nail down the things that you need to help build your tomorrow. And that's bars right there. So thank y'all for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure y'all stay informed, because I know I need to stay informed. And I'm actively involved. Stay informed on new things that's coming up, so y'all can be conscious. You can be aware. So when people want to have a discussion with you, an intelligent discussion based upon facts, not opinions, an intelligent discussion based upon facts and not opinions, you can actually tell them about what's going on. Because I didn't know about Project 2025 until I saw it within my own Reddit community. And I'm like, why are people not talking about this? So it's one of those things to where major news people are not going to cover it half the time. And we always talk about, big media companies, they're not covering the important stuff. So we got to do our due diligence to make sure that we do our own research and that we are conscious, aware, and smart civilians, and that we can intelligently talk to people about things that's affecting them within their own personal life, so they can make informed decisions on what changes they're going to make and how they're going to show up to the poll and who they're going to show up for. So thank y'all for tuning in again to this week's episode. Love y'all. Be safe. Make sure you take your L's every day. That means live for today, laugh about things you have no control over, and always lead in love with your heart. So thank y'all for tuning in. This is Antonio Hicks. Peace out.